Today's video, we are going to talk about what does impression share really mean now today on Google. And it's not really what you think it means, which is how often your ad shows up for your keywords. Out of 100% of the time it shows up, or zero impression share being 0% of the time. This is not at all how it works anymore. This isn't meant to be controversial. I actually made this video because things have changed a lot over the last 10 years of advertising on Google. With everything running off of an algorithm much more than it has been, impression share doesn't mean what it always used to mean. It actually doesn't mean almost at all what it used to mean. You can actually have 90% impression share and your ad's not even showing on Google. And if you were wondering why that is, I'm going to explain exactly why that is on today's video. So if you watch to the end of the video, I will explain just how much more money you'll be able to make, giving you some actual case studies on 100% impression share versus zero or close to zero, and done so, in the first week of advertising and by year 5. And the length of time you've been advertising will dictate whether you're able to make $50,000 a month on Google ads, running ads at 90% impression share versus 5,000 or 2,000. The time will dictate how much impressions you're getting in your market, which dictates really more so how much you're making. So I will go into all those details in today's video. I am Corey Zyman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, an online advertising agency that specializes in giving guaranteed results to clients. We do not charge management fees until we get them an additional profit on their ads in excess of what our management fees are. The reason why we're able to do that is because I'm the one doing strategy on our client accounts and been doing advertising on Google, Facebook, and online, all other online advertising venues for the last 20 years now to get to understand strategy on what works and what doesn't work in today's environment, and all the stuff that I find out what works and doesn't work I give to you for free on this channel. So with that said, I will go into what the definition of impression share is versus what it was, and then basically how you're going to be able to use that to make money, and then of course how much of a difference money-wise this can make for your campaign once you deploy this information to your business and your campaigns. So with that said, okay, the official definition of impression share, as it always was going back to 2003 when Google started having the Google AdWords program, back when I first started advertising on Google for the businesses that I ran back then, it was how often your ad shows out of all available possible impressions. So basically, if you're bidding on the word red shoes, okay, if you have 100% impression share, your ad shows up for all, let's say if 5,000 people a month are searching for red shoes as a keyword, if you were bidding on red shoes and you have 100% impression share, it meant your ad showed 5,000 times during that month, okay, 100% impression share. Now, today's environment, the new definition of impression share is how often you show for your keywords that you're bidding on out of all eligible times you are eligible to show your ads. You are not eligible to have your ad show for your keywords automatically just because you want to, unless there is one factor that would control that. That is, you're willing to pay an astronomically high amount per click to get there. There are some competitive markets like the restoration services business where everybody wants to run ads for those services because just by running an ad and getting a phone call, you can flip that call to somebody else. You don't even have to be in business. And if you can get the call cheap enough, you can sell it to somebody in the space. They'll pay you hard cash per call, a certain amount. And as long as you can get it a bit cheaper than what they're willing to pay for that call, you can make money on the float. And therefore, it's full of cutthroat sharks that are making it very, very hard to make money in that space. And there's just people that are trying to get in, play that flow. And so you got businesses and then the lead sellers. And therefore, it's extremely difficult to get ads to work in that market, particularly nowadays. And one thing you'll find in that market is when you start advertising, because there's literally in any kind of decent sized city, like we're talking top 30 markets by population in the US. You're going to find if you go to the auction insights, which shows you all of the people advertising on your keywords in that market for floodwater removal and the like, specifically in that area, you're going to find that there's literally 15 other companies listed there. 4 ads at the top of Google doesn't mean you have 4 competitors. It means there's 4 slots at the top of Google and they're rotating out 11 other bozos, and you got to fight your way into getting your ad shown for your keywords. And this can actually take years to actually get shown in any reasonable amount of time. And unless you're going to pay 10 times more per click than what the guys that are advertising now is willing to pay. And then you can kind of force the system to show your ads. For the most part, what you'll find, because nobody can run their ads at that kind of a loss, what you'll end up doing is you'll get shown a little bit, a few times. Your impression share will say you have 90% impression share, but you go to Google your keywords, your ad's actually not showing for those keywords. With that said, why is that? It's because Google has a lot of people to pick from that wants their ads shown. And Google is going to prefer to show ads that they know how they run better than the new guy that comes in that may be better than the existing guys that are advertising and that have been there for years, or maybe not. If you want to get shown all the time, you got to be able to show that Google, you're a great advertiser, and not just on 50 clicks or 100 clicks, but like on 10,000 clicks, okay? Because they want to really know it. On 500 clicks, you may look good, but that doesn't really prove it like 10,000 clicks. So with that said, your impression share doesn't really tell you anything as to whether you're getting your ad in front of most people in your market that you can get customers from profitably on Google. It doesn't tell you that basically at all. What it does tell you is amount of ad impressions or times that your ad should show that you're eligible to show up for, what percentage of those you get. Because what happens is Google's very risk adverse. They're trying to optimize search results to help their users the most they can at any given time. At least in a competitive market, what they're going to do is they're going to show you as a new advertiser maybe 5% of the time for your keywords. And if you look like you have good click-through rates and good conversion rates compared to the competition, they'll decide to show you, let's say now starting 10% of the time. And then if things check out maybe 15% of the time. And you have to work your way up to getting shown 100% of the time. If Google's starting out having you show up for 5% of the people that are searching for your keywords, that's the most you can get at the time. So even though you're bidding more aggressively, you're still only going to get shown a max of 5% of the time until you've advertised and shown you're a good advertiser. And if it shows you have a 90% impression share, that means you're actually only showing up 5.9% or 4.9% of the time, not 95% of the time. Like I mentioned before, tells you, the search impression share nowadays tells you what percentage of the time did you show for what Google is going to allow you to show at the given time as an advertiser. If you have good ads, good landing pages that get at least average click-through rates and conversion rates, when it shows 95% search impression share in your account and you've been advertising for 5 years already, it really means 95% of the time people search for your keywords, you actually show up. But when you're talking about the first month, it doesn't mean that at all. The things that are going to affect whether you get shown 100% of the time or 5%, like I mentioned before, is your click-through rate and your conversion rate. But even those being good doesn't affect whether you show up a lot right away, because Google's system needs to have a certain minimum amount of data to really know whether you have high numbers or not. And they want statistical certainty before they go ahead and do that, because they don't want to show people end up giving their users a bad experience. They'd rather be testing you out slowly and go with the guy that they know does okay than to have the chance of you maybe doing better than the competition, but probably not. Most people aren't going to do as good as the leading competition in that market. And then as a whole, across Google, they're going to have a less efficient search result for all their users using Google if they right away took big risks on new advertising. The other thing that's going to affect how often you show is your current advertising history, like I just mentioned. So you've been advertising a long time, little time. The longer you advertise, the more of a chance you actually have of showing up all the time. That is, if you have above average click-through rate and conversion rate. Now, you can speed that process up. The more of an alpha you are above the best current advertiser in your space for the keywords that you're targeting. So in other words, if you got 15 guys doing floodwater removal services that are advertising now for those keywords, the best guy has a 10% click-through rate and a 40% conversion rate from click to lead. As long as you get above that, if you get above that, let's say 11% click-through rate and 45% conversion rate, Google's going to be testing you out a little bit quicker than they would otherwise. And the more above that 10% click-through rate and the more above the 40% conversion rate you have, the quicker they're going to start testing you out, if that makes sense. Because it's going to be more obvious sooner. The one thing you got to understand about statistics and testing, which you really, if you haven't, which I know it sounds dorky and all this, but if you're going to get into being a really good advertiser and get rich as an advertiser, you got to understand what statistical significance is and with your testing. You definitely want to run testing in what you're doing, but you have to know whether something's really of the tests that you're running, can you really rely on the results or not? And for the most part, you want to have at least 90% statistical significance in your testing to know that what you tested is really true or real or not something that could easily, go the other way if you were to give it a little bit more time for the test to run. And then with that said, 90% statistical significance in your testing, the more of a gap in the results that there is. So if you test something that converts 3 times better than this on let's say a landing page test that you're doing, it may only take you 3 days to get to 90% statistical significance in your test, versus if your landing page only converts 20% better than the other one, it can take easily 6 months to get to 90+% statistical significance. The more that your test wins or loses versus the control, the quicker you're going to get statistical significance. As it applies to what I just mentioned, Google doing their own testing to see if you're merited enough to show all the time or part of the time or get tested out more aggressively sooner, the better you do as an advertiser above what the leading advertiser is doing, the quicker you're going to get pushed into the mix. And then with that said, the number of competition and level of the competition is obviously going to play a factor as to whether you're getting shown a lot or little or how soon, in terms of their click-through rate and conversion rate versus yours. And then of course, the more guys there are, the longer it will take to get shown 100% of the time because there's physically more people to beat. It's easier to beat 2 people than it is to beat 11. And not just to beat, it's not naturally, if you have the best ad and landing page, harder to beat 11 versus 2 because you're still beating them all, but Google is going to have to do more split testing to find out that you're actually beating them all. So in other words, Google, if they only had to test 3 different ads, they could find out which ad is doing better sooner than if they had to test 11 ads against each other. The more the competition, the more the test, more testing that they have to do, the more testing they have to do, the longer it's going to take for them to realize you're the best advertiser and that you deserve 100% showing on your ads. Because it's going to help their users get what they want better, quicker, easier than anything else in your market. But your competition, what they're willing to pay, also matters. Google's system is still a bidding system. It's still an auction system at its core. They're willing to pay twice as much per click than you. Everything else being equal in terms of your click-through rate and conversion rate versus them, they're going to get shown more, bottom line. And so you have to bid still so high. Now, the better you are as an advertiser, the less you're going to have to pay to get shown 100% of the time. So if you don't like paying so much, you just need to be better in terms of ad click-through rate, conversion rate on your landing page or site. But if you don't want to be better, then you can just bid more. So it's really up to you which way you want to go. Do you just want to throw money at it, or do you want to throw money at being better? Practically speaking, long term, it's going to make there's no situation just not having the best ad and landing page isn't going to be the best route to go. It's just a pain in the ass to do for people. Why? Because you're going to be paying so much less for a customer doing it that way and being just better than all the other ads. Even if it cost you $30,000 to put together a really, really good funnel, that $30,000, you're going to be pissing that away every year for the next 10 years. So you're literally going to be paying 10 times as much money doing things the lazy way, trying to go with an average approach in terms of wasted ad spend, then you will just invest in it in the proper setup up front. And there's of course the issue with squashing, which before I do that, which has to do with Google playing games and trying to fake people out, juke them out to spend more when they don't necessarily would be against their best interest, which is part of Google's antitrust lawsuit that just came about. If you don't know specifically how to get your ad shown more, or should I say, want it to happen sooner, reach out to me at my firm at guaranteeppc.com. I'd be happy to give you an estimate of how quickly we can get your ad shown, what the profitability increase would be from what you're doing, short, medium, and long term. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you about what you're doing. You just got to reach out to me at my firm at guaranteeppc.com. We'll talk it over. We also, by the way, sell ad templates. We've worked in over 200 different niches now. And if we've already done the work in your niche, you should just buy the winning ad, landing page, campaign templates from us that you can copy and paste into your ad account and get the same results we are in a different geographic area, in your geographic area, and just the results will be turnkey. We can tell you what results you're going to get with it up front, and of course the cost, and you can just do the cost benefit analysis for yourself. We got people using these templates because they're so good to start whole other business. You're struggling in your current business or want to diversify, taking a template to sell a commodity item that you can easily get from China, or to sell leads, to start a lead selling business, is like the easiest way to start another business because you already got something proven you're starting with. If you're interested in any of those other opportunities, you can also reach out to me at Guarantee PPC. I want to know if you should be getting more results than you currently are at this stage. You can also just as easily leave me a comment in the comment section, and I'll get back to you with that basic information if you tell me your story. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment in the comment section. But back into the content itself. So squashing, specifically what this is Google's going to get you addicted to Google. A lot of businesses don't want to diversify. Once they get one marketing channel working, they don't want to reinvest their money into other channels. They just want to take all their money, blow it on Coke and hookers or whatever they're going to blow it on. New cars, whatever, fast lifestyle. They're not going to spend that money on another channel like Facebook or whatever to get that working in case the first channel stops working. And Google knows this. When you get Google ads to work and you scale it up, your operations has to scale up. Now, relying on Google to keep working, to keep your guys busy, because if you don't, you're going to instantly be running at a loss. And the more you scale, the more, obviously, the quicker you could go out of business if you didn't have that level of business coming in from your ads. Google knows this, so what do? They're very smart into figuring out that what they'll do is if you're getting 100 customers a day now, they'll knock you down to 50, have to see if you'll panic and see if you're willing to spend more per click and go raise your budget along with it. And if they can get you to do it, that's the new standard. Now you're paying more per click to maintain, if you will. In short, that's what's going on. And basically what they do, if you're in the top spot on the ad section on Google, they'll push you down to 3s, which means you'll get half the business you had before, as a way to get you to encourage you to bid more. And then they'll just keep doing this. And as long as you're always willing to keep paying more, they'll just keep doing it to you. Able to walk up what certain people that are willing to pay, because they can raise the cost per click for everybody. They're smarter than that. They'll actually get individual people they know are more apt to pay more without giving up and play those games. So the reason why I bring that up is because your impression share also is going to always be affected. Your true impression share, that is how often you actually show up, is going to often fluctuate based upon Google's own, not only just their testing to see if your ad should be in the first, second, or third position versus somebody else's, because they're constantly trying to optimize the search results for their users, but also playing games to see who they can encourage or convince to spend more per click so they can charge more for their clicks. If you don't understand that that's going on, that's right in their Department of Justice deposition files. You can look this up. That's literally what they're doing, which is why, by the way, you want to do better as an advertiser, because if once you're so good, Google don't want to, they're a golden goose in terms of helping their users. They're not going to screw with you as much as the guy. They don't really care if you stay or go, which is your main defense with it and for it. And just doing everything that you can to have the highest click-through rate and conversion rate to be that person, which, by the way, there's no better information that you're going to find in order to do that than on this channel. This channel has everything you need to do that, and it's been given to you for free by somebody who spends 40 hours a week doing ad testing at our firm and guarantees results for their clients. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, you absolutely should already, and you should check out my blog that I have on my site at guaranteedppc.com/blog. The blog has actual instructions to execute the strategies we're using to guarantee results for our clients. So if you haven't looked at that, you should check that out as well. The blog has screenshots and everything you need to execute these strategies. With that said, there's a lot of things, as I mentioned here, to consider when understanding why your ad's not showing when you go search for it on Google. Why, you may say, well, why isn't my ad showing? I want Google to take my money. Well, reality is they only want to take your money when they know it's safe to, and they know that you're going to do at least as good as the people that they know how their ads and landing pages perform already and have been with them already for a long time. Which, by the way, you want, because if it weren't like that, any young buck coming up with $5 in his pocket and some ambition would displace your ads once you're relying on the $50,000 a month in revenue to come in from those Google ads. Once it's already going and you have all this infrastructure and overhead that you have to cover itself, whereas it's hard in, it's really great on top, and new guys coming in, for the most part, can't push you out of the way, and they actually have to stick with it, and they got to do more to push you out of the way, and most of them won't. In terms of case studies here, if you want to know how much this will matter, okay, in the restoration services market, just to give you one beautiful example of that, anymore in that market, calls, when we started out on Google with a brand new account, we're paying $1,500 a lead for floodwater calls, which is way expensive. It's not even worth it. And we're getting shown literally 10% of the time, or basically couldn't even get our ad to physically show when we search for our keywords until we got close into a year on the campaign. And that's already spending around $4 or $5 grand a month. Now, every market isn't like this, but we had a particular city where this was actually the case. It is still worth it, because once we got into about month 15 to 18 in the process, cost per lead has been steady, been around $300 to $500 a lead, which is profitable in that space, and been done for several months, and the ads are consistently showing up when you make the keyword searches. But that physically shows you just how long it can actually take for things to work, okay? We also have had a surfing gear or wakeboarding gear company, e-commerce brand, just on the e-commerce side, in order to get our search ads to show, it's the same thing. It literally took us into year 2 before the search ads would consistently show up. Furthermore, the amount of impressions that we were getting on a weekly basis was roughly 20 times what it was when we were at roughly 18 months into the process than what it was the first week. And then on top of it, by the way, your conversion rates are going to get better over time as well. So you're going to get shown more and your conversion rates are going to get better. The conversion rates mainly get better because Google, at least when you're doing what you're supposed to do and you follow the stuff that I talk about on this channel that'll make you better than your competition in terms of click-through rates and conversion rates, they're going to start sending you the high-quality traffic as well. And you may say, well, I'm already targeting good keywords. What do you mean high-quality traffic? Google's going to sub-segment the traffic on each individual keyword and send the person that they know is statistically less likely to convert. That is, they exhibit behaviors that make the lesser probability of converting to you, the new guy, that they don't care if you stay or go, because frankly, you look like the 9 out of 10 people who tried their ads out for a couple months before and then quit. Versus the guy they really like, they're going to send the person most likely to convert to him and have his ad show. When that type of guy comes through that exhibits all the traits of a person who normally buys, they encourage him to stick around. Yes, this actually happened. No, it's not listed anywhere, but yes, this happened. And I told you what type of game they play with squashing, and there's other games that they play. And I just see how things work. You got to either adapt, understand. I mean, anything with that kind of value that Google Ads brings, where you can literally make $1 million a year in profit in your business in just 6-7 years, setting up a little e-commerce business, just using Google Ads to get it to work, just following, basic principles of making your ads efficient. It's going to take a little something to get it going, so to say. With that said, if you have any questions, leave me a comment in the comment section below. Appreciate you watching as usual, and I'll see you on the next one.
Remember when I said impression share was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.